Jeremy Corbyn, welcome to Novara. Thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome.
We're at the Gaza Tribunal. Tell us about this event.
I proposed a private member's bill in Parliament to ask for a Chilcot-style inquiry into British policy in relation to Gaza and the West Bank. And I've consistently asked a lot of questions about supply of weapons, use of RAF Akrotiri, parts for F-35 jets, and the government's response to the genocide that's gone on. They have not been very forthcoming in their answers, and so I produced this bill which called for an open public inquiry, as I said, like the one Sir John Chilcot held after the Iraq War. And the government has absolutely categorically refused to have an open public inquiry, so I said, OK, we'll hold our own. Yeah. So we're holding a 2-day inquiry here at Church House in Westminster. It's not an official public inquiry. We have invited people to give evidence, and we've got a large number giving evidence over the next 2 days. We'll publish all of it, and it's all being live streamed today. We've got many people coming, including Francesca Albanese.
Official inquiries are empowered to ask much deeper questions. They're empowered to see things that aren't in the public eye. What are the questions that you would want an official inquiry to ask of British complicity in the genocide?
The licenses on the sale of arms, the quantity of weapons that were sold, the use of Royal Air Force Base at Akrotiri, the information collected from the overflying, and why they've obfuscated now for nearly 2 years on the question of supplying parts and components for the F-35 jets, 15% of which are made in Britain. And so those are sort of pretty fundamental questions. But the other one is the moral question. You and I turn on our televisions and watch live, real-time children being starved to death, almost in sight of food, water, energy and medicine. It is abominable, it is evil what is going on.
If I get you to speculate a little bit, what do you think they would find? What are the kind of information that has been concealed in the public view that an inquiry that was more official would be able to see?
I want to know what the legal advice was. The ICJ came to its conclusions about genocide. The ICC issued arrest warrants. My understanding, and many others will hear this over the next 2 days, is that a country that is charged with genocide, if somebody then continues to supply the wherewithal to them to commit that genocide, then they themselves move themselves into the frame of being potentially guilty of war crimes. And so it's a British government that has knowingly supplied weapons to a government that they know committing acts of genocide.
You mentioned Chilcot a moment ago. The Chilcot inquiry was launched in 2009, so a good 6 years after the actual invasion of Iraq. Is this just too soon to have an inquiry?
No.
From a sort of political standpoint, I mean, I think it's probably justified as sort of investigative, but is it simply going to be, are we going to have to wait another 10 years to see what really went on?
Chilcot was the third inquiry, actually. There was the Butler inquiry, and then there was the Foreign Affairs Select Committee inquiry, both of which were inadequate. Chilcot then came along in 2009. He didn't report until 2016. So we had a very, very long gap. Is it too soon? No. I think we need to know almost in real time what's going on and the weapons that are being supplied and the weapons that we've supplied that we're possibly maintaining. And also there is a question of the training of Israeli forces in Britain as well. And so I think we need to know now. Our inquiry will up the ante, give it some publicity, give it the whole issue a greater degree of welly, and it will force eventually a proper public inquiry into this disastrous period of British foreign policy.
So the Chilcot inquiry, as I say, 2016, it finally published its report. It found very, very serious failings. It found that war was not used as a last resort, that there were major diplomatic channels that could have been opened. It found that the WND, which we already knew, was a lie. Yet Tony Blair remains a free man, indeed a man who is now involved obscenely, from my point of view, in the sort of the post-war Gaza reconstruction discussion that's going on.
Chilcot was important, very late of course, but very important because it did help to point to the way in which decision-making happened. What I also want to explore is this almost symbiotic relationship that exists between government, Ministry of Defence and the arms manufacturers, because Gaza is a sort of showcase for drones, for high-velocity weapons, for surveillance and so on. And next week we've got the Arms Equipment Exhibition Fair going on in East London. How many limited view videos are going to be shown of what's going on in Gaza and Ukraine and other places? We're living in a world where $2.5 trillion a year are spent on arms, and we've got growing poverty, inequality, and flows of refugees. We need to change the dial. Our inquiry today helps to give voice to those that want to change the dial.
We would say, I mean, the Labour Party would say, oh, well, we're a different government from the Conservatives, but on this matter, their policies have been quite similar. Do you think that the thing that is holding that policy in place is this nexus of power you've just described, arms manufacturers, the MOD, the Home Office, the Foreign Office, and so on? Is that the way we should be saying, okay, who is really making the decisions here?
As I know to my cost, if you break the all-party consensus on nuclear weapons, on NATO, on defence policy, and on arms spending, an awful lot of people come after you big time and very, very heavy. It's that consensus that's led us into the Gulf War, that's led us into Iraq, that led us into bombing Syria, that led us into bombing Libya. Come on, we need to change our foreign policy mentality and look for a world of peace, not an opportunity to sell weapons of war.
We've now got the Great Plan, as it's called, the Gaza, I can't remember the exact acronym, but the
Greater Gaza or something.
Yeah,
this is the
Gaza Riviera Plan.
Oh, the Trump plan, yes,
Yeah.
the Trump plan with the golf courses and everything else, and the whole Palestinian people expelled either to a new Gaza in the Sinai or by bribing countries like South Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia to take millions of Palestinians. This is obscene what we've got going on in front of us. The world has got to stand up against it, which is why we all need to be on the demonstration this Saturday in support of the Palestinian people.
So that's what the world should be standing against. What does justice mean after a genocide? What can this mean? What should happen now?
It means people brought before the International Criminal Court for committing acts of genocide. It means further action by the International Court of Justice. But above all, it needs the Hague Group of nations within the UN to get bigger and stronger. I helped to set up the Hague Group through Progressive International. We had 30 different states went to our conference in Bogota. 13 are completely signed up to it. That's a growing force. And well done, Malaysia, well done, Colombia, well done, South Africa in that.
That's what should happen in terms of the ICC and people being arrested and so on. But there has to be an effort to reconstruct a Palestinian state that is meaningful.
Of course.
What should the UK's role in that be?
Providing support, finance and money for the reconstruction, but not running it, not being there involved, and not having any British troops on the ground there.
Thank you very much, Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you.